Alright, so nothing in particular that I want to demonstrate today. Just a bunch of smaller, random pieces of tech or strategy or things that I've noticed after playing Falke online some more. So, here we go. So, one of the biggest things that I've adapted to my playstyle is sort of like Birdie with Birdie's Bullhorn, his zonk input that will go through projectiles that he can release on reaction at about this range to go through characters that use fireballs and footsies. Falke doesn't have one anywhere near as good as that, but her Canonen is just as capable of getting underneath the fireballs on reaction and getting a small punish. And while she's in v3.5, she can easily convert this into a knockdown. Like so. Speaking of v3.5, it won't usually be a punish, but it is very, very capable of getting over projectiles on reaction, which it will do quite cleanly. And if you happen to get the hit, so long as you have any V gauge remaining, it's an easy confirm into low-medium kick at most ranges, and if you're any closer, and another piece of tech, a small piece of tech. I might have mentioned this before on the channel, maybe in my How to Improve Falke video, but the only piece of tech that I did not develop myself that I saw on Twitter was someone suggested the idea of using the activation of v3.5 right when you're about to get hit by a fireball, so that it knocks you out of the long animation, and therefore you can activate it without getting punished too hard. Just you take the damage of one fireball and that's it. So it's a somewhat safe activation. And then I decided to look for some other places to get safe activations for v3.5. And I found some interesting trades. If you time it just right, you can get it so that the move is in my anti-Minot tech video, where you can use normals to put Minot in block stun while her orb comes back and hits you, and have the block stun outweigh the hit stun of the orb. You can do that with the activation of v3.5, so you can turn that into a safe activation. And additionally, I've been looking at situations because the v3.5 activation has a 10 frame startup, and I've been looking for situations where you can whiff punish certain things or punish things on block with it. Although, it's mainly just punishing things on block. Falke has, if there's anything that's whiffing long enough that you can get a reliable 10 frame whiff punish, she probably has better tools to do. So it's mainly just certain things that she can't punish on block very well with anything else, but she can punish with that at certain ranges. And of course, unlike in v3.1, which unfortunately doesn't really give you much opportunities to extend your damage output for anti-airs, you can extend your damage output with the Schneide into Klinge, but only by just a little bit, not that much extra damage. But however, as I've been noticing, testing with some of the characters' dive kicks in the cast, Falke can deal with Cammy's dive kick pretty well, but a lot of other characters, if they dive kick at a certain range, about right there, then both of your anti-airs will lose because this one will usually get beaten out by dive kicks, and this one will move you just a little bit too far forward. And Falke is ducking at the start of this animation, which is what makes it good for an anti-air in the first place. But it also means that it helps it, it makes it whiff more frequently against dive kicks like that. Specifically dive kicks at that angle. Additionally, and with limited use, I've discovered another anti-air option that Falke has in an early V skill, which will beat most anti-air buttons, even the best anti-air button, or even the best jump-in buttons from most characters, so long as it's timed early enough. And it has active frames throughout the entire spinning, so they'll always just jump into it. However, it only hits just once. Because it hits pretty late and it doesn't do the full animation, they're not really stuck in the actual attack itself. It only hits them just a few times. Does barely any damage, and consequently builds barely any V gauge for doing this. But one benefit that you have of doing this is that it gives you something that you can anti-air and then combo into the Trigger 2 activation, because doing the Schneide will not combo. Like so. And it allows you to get very, very small extensions on your anti-air like that. Because remember, you could just normally anti-air with the Schneide into the Klinge in the first place and get pretty much the exact same damage. And unfortunately, this is not, because he hits awkwardly on not the last frame and therefore doesn't get the good knockdown, there's no way to combo off of this with V-Trigger 1 either. So, still no really high damaging anti-air combos with V-Trigger 1. And if it can technically hit, but it's very unreliable. Another thing that you can do in V-Trigger 2 is you can cancel moves like this into the Klinge, which I had already pointed out in earlier episodes, but I had mentioned that both were still technically punishable. However, I have definitely tested and made sure that you are indeed, no matter what, you're going to be in the air when you do this on block. So any punish that they get will be an anti-air punish. And you are counter-hittable when you're in the air before you do the overhead. Just like Abigail's regular Abigail flips. His medium and heavy Abigail flip, you can crush counter him out of the air out of it. In a similar situation to that. So you can slightly reduce the damage that you're going to take on as a punish by canceling this kick on block into the overhead. People who aren't prepared or are instinctively pressing the regular punishes that they would normally do on this kick. A lot of those, like say if Ken were going to do like crouching medium punch there, that would instantly lose and get whiff punished by the overhead, and then you would get a combo. So you can catch people off guard with that. And the punishes that are universal between blocking this and interrupting that it depends on the character, but most of them are not as much damage as the maximum you would get on one or the other. So, you can reduce the damage that you take if you, say, make a mistake on a whiff punish, or you just want to get in. And the last thing I want to mention about V-Trigger 2 is I've been using it a bit more recently in actual matches, and I found that a lot of people have a pretty difficult time necessarily reacting to the actual overhead. It's a bit better than I thought it would be. And it is technically more plus on block than even Abigail's heavy Abigail flip. And Abigail's heavy Abigail flip and medium can be neutral jumped and punished, whereas this cannot be. So, it's not as bad as I thought. It's not as easy to react to as I was expecting initially, so. especially if you're not doing it too much all the time. You can get away with it, and you're usually in range to combo if you get the hit into something normal like that. Or from further away, that's your best bet if you can get a link off of it. So if you do it from about here and you happen to like go over a fireball or just go over a low poke, hit him, you can get a clean combo off that. And from absolute max range where you won't be able to get the crouching medium kick, you can do a raw super. I find that the most common times that I land this strictly as an overhead, usually you're landing it either just going over fireballs, catching people like as a pressure tool, just catching people trying to interrupt it but being too late. Most people are perfectly capable of blocking it as an overhead, but I have landed it as an overhead before, and I usually do so off of doing anything into the standing fireballs, which like when I'm already comboing them and they think that they're getting damaged and that they'll get knocked down and then have to do a wake up or something. I can sneak in the overhead off of a standing reset, usually off of that, especially from a little bit further away, because like there's a lot of flashing stuff happening and it sort of disguises it for most people, and they're not really ready for to have to block a mix-up again, and most people are instinctively crouch blocking at that point, so I've caught a few people doing that. As for the Starkin, much like I talked about before, I've developed some more ironclad tech, we'll say. More situations for using the Jaeger, and just setting up more pressure in different situations. So, one thing that I've done is I've been testing air-to-airs with medium or punch buttons while you're in trigger. There's a lot of situations where you can get really good stuff off of air-to-airs, especially punishing neutral jumps from far away. When the opponent jumps at you, doing jump back, usually medium punch, into the Jaeger, and that will hit meaty, and you can definitely get a combo off that if it hits. And it'll be plus on block, obviously, if it doesn't hit, so. And you can do that as an option select, because you can just jump back, medium punch, or neutral jump medium punch. Especially if you're trying to maneuver around fireballs. You have various ways of stopping your momentum and putting something on screen. And most of the methods that you can do will can be whiff punished or just jumped in on. Both, say if you jump over a fireball from full screen against Guile, you can just jump over it, or you can jump over and then put something on screen, or you can jump over and then drop like that. And if he's jumping over, usually you want to do the fireball from either much farther away or when he's getting closer. So when he won't, about this range is a range where he won't be able to just jump over the fireball and punish you cleanly on reaction. So if you're getting around fireballs, that's usually the range that you want to be doing it from. And then you can jump in from really far away on fireballs and fireball characters. You can jump in and then stop your momentum. You have all these options, but a lot of them are beaten by the opponent just jumping over. Like if you do the dive kick or the fireball, the opponent can just forward jump. The Guile player can just forward jump on prediction. So you're going to be doing the medium punch a lot to to catch people jumping doing that, and you can buffer that into the Jaeger at any point during your jump. And so long as it catches them. So I've been examining more complex Oki situations using the Jaeger. And the two that I've been using most frequently are getting, like when you're pressuring, just poking with medium kick into the V skill and you get the hit. And you cancel into that, which is something that I land very, very frequently. I do either a forward jump into Jaeger or a neutral jump into Jaeger. And the other one is landing just the raw EX catapult, in which you can do back jump Jaeger and it will meaty both the quick rise and back recover options, and is incapable of getting anti-aired. So there's a few more, but those are the two most common ones that I use. So for this one, so that will hit him meaty. He won't be able to, so I'll put him at to neutral jump. Or sorry, when he gets up. So I can most certainly hit him meaty with that on normal recover, so nothing he does will be a problem. Except for an EX flash kick. If I neutral jump off of that same wake up, see, on forward jump that will still catch me if he has the meter to do that, and he's a character that is capable of doing so. But if I do a neutral jump, it'll meaty him, and his flash kick will whiff. So on back recover, both of those options lead to so I put him back to neutral jumping on wake up. So he will successfully neutral jump after back recover, and he'll do the same on the normal normal jump, the neutral jump. However, when you land this, Falke is perfectly capable of anti-airing him with forward hard punch, or catapult. If he forward jumps out of the situation, you can cleanly anti-air. I've tested, he won't be able to beat you out. And if he tries to back jump out of the situation, he'll just land on the fireball. Like so. I suppose I should also mention that, yes, in terms of conversions, if you see them landing on your fireball, you can do the EX catapult into pretty much anything that you could normally do it into. Regular catapult, it all works, it's fine. So because of that, you have methods of beating all their jump options without committing to anything. Because all you have to do is just walk forward. If you see them forward jump, you can anti-air them. You see them neutral jump, you can anti-air them. You see them back recover, you can just dash forward twice and then combo off of it. So they're sort of forced to sit there and eat it. They could backdash, but he could backdash, but he'll just end up blocking it anyways. And some characters, their backdashes are bad enough that they'll just get punished for doing that. Apply the rebound of the fireball. So yeah, pretty good setups off of that. Off of this setup with the EX catapult, you can get a forward jump into that, and unless they have an invincible anti-air, they won't be able to beat that. But if they do have an invincible anti-air, like Guile's flash kick, he will be able to beat that. So, there's various Jaeger setups that you can utilize. Most of them are not necessarily optimal, per se. Like, the main purpose that you would do most of the those Jaeger setups is just to force them to block something without the risk of getting reversal for your troubles. So you can do safe pressure and safe meaties like that, especially off of the EX catapult options, which is also, like I said, because you're back jumping, you're completely safe to wake up anything. And, I mean, in addition to that, just forcing them to block something without them necessarily putting something on screen, and especially if they're the type that doesn't want to get locked down and they try to avoid it by jumping out of it, the punishes that you'll get on that, especially if they jump backwards or happen to jump into it, which a lot of people tend to do, it's good to know how you can capitalize off of those people. And just mixing up your Oki situations and not always going for the same one is beneficial to keep your opponent on their toes, which will make them make mistakes or not be able to react to the correct situation with the correct answer most of the time. So it can be beneficial to not always go for this Oki, even though it is clearly the best Oki. Two more things that I need to talk about. So, next up, I should also mention that both crouching medium punch, but mainly crouching medium kick, is a pretty safe poke. You're probably going to be using it in block strings a lot. A really good block string is standing light kick, standing medium punch, crouching medium kick. Not a lot beats that. And especially in matchups where you can't just always go for the standing hard punch. So, especially, even though it is -2, knowing that you can combo off of this on counter hit, just, you know, be aware. Oh yes, another bait that I end up landing pretty often in the corner is another standing reset with the Kugel that you can do with the activation of v3.5. So I tend to do, or I pretty frequently do, if I land a combo in the corner, a lot of the times I like going for something into medium kick, into gunshot, Kugel. Activating and then using the plus frames, the +21 to walk forwards as if I'm going to reset with a throw, and then neutral jump. And this will lead to a lot more damage if they actually take the bite on the throw bait. And with just one reset, that's one throw bait, you can get that much. Because the combo that you get for the throw bait in the corner deals 670 stun. So they're definitely getting stunned after that. And lastly, I want to just talk about situations where you can activate v3.5. Because I see most often, even the good Falke players that I see them activating off a forward hard punch. Now, not only Is forward hard punch a risky button to try and activate off of, just as it's a risky button to throw out in general, because it has the potential to be beaten out, it can be whiff punished if you misspace it, it can be jumped in on at pretty much any time except for Oki situations. It's not really a great move to, like the likelihood of you not landing this and not canceling in a trigger is pretty high, and you'll get punished really hard for it if you don't actually make contact, and even if you do activate off of it, you're not really that much closer, and you're only +5 on block. That is not the greatest activation. Of course, you can combo off of this on hit. Like so. But there are much better ways that you can activate. So the best ways you can activate are usually, if you're doing it in neutral, Kugel is probably going to be your best bet. Anything into Kugel, it's +17 on block. It's +21 on hit. You can always link it into a forward hard punch, into the knockdown. You can always link it into EX catapult if you want to stay close. So, Kugel into activate is pretty good. And on block, it will definitely be good enough for you to walk forward and actually get some pressure going. Cannonen into activate is pretty good. At this range, it'll be about +19, +18. Any further than that, at a range where you can still activate, which you can't about this far away. But any range that you can still activate, it'll be +21 on block and +28 on hit, which will allow you to, on hit, always get a forward dash into medium kick if you're in range. So that +21 on block allows you to get a forward dash into some nonsense. You won't... Any range where you can actually do this from, forward dash afterwards won't leave you close enough to do much of anything unless you're in the corner. In which case you're a bit closer. But you're still only +1, so... You know... Use it where you can. I mean, if you're worried about a character's 3-frame normal, you can just do like forward dash standing hard punch should blow that up from like most ranges like here. That'll definitely crush any 3-frame normals, because none of the 3-frame normals in this game will be able to hit Falke at that range or beat her out of her standing hard punch. Beyond that, you want to activate off of anything into V-skill, be it like a dash-up light punch V-skill, or a carefully spaced stab of a medium kick into V-skill, which will leave you +3 and will suck you into the opponent. Similar situation for when you're actually activated. You don't really want to just be firing off gunshots at random. I mean, you do want to spend them pretty quickly if they're your first activation of V-trigger. I most typically... do all my combos and end them with V-skill near the start of the round to build as much V-gauge as possible, and when someone whiffs DP, I'll crush counter it with the hard kick to build more V-gauge rather than do the optimal damage and punish of standing hard punch. Once I built the first V-trigger of the match, then I switch and mainly just go for setups and damage afterwards for all my combos. And if it looks like I'm not going to be able to build 2 V-triggers in a round, then I'll just go for, I'll stop going for building V-gauge afterwards. But yeah, if you're doing the forward hard punch in trigger, you wanna make good use of your bullets that you have. So you can do good. You can bully your way in with pressure. You can space out some neutral jumps or long range jumps to get optimal range medium punches that allow you to get the bounce off the ground for the gunshot, which will allow you to move in. And so on. And just be converting your normals and combos into better setups and better stun and damage. And especially in the corner, you can just go nuts with your pressure, with everything. So yeah, those are the situations that I would activate off of most often. Stuff like that. If you want to just catch the opponent walking, dash up low medium kick is also a pretty good option. That'll be a +5 on block, and I believe +9 on hit. Yep. So that should do you fine if you land the hit. And obviously you can, any combos that you land into, you can convert those to better knockdowns immediately. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. That's most of the just assorted tech that I've been examining and developing as of recent. Alright, see you around.